Stand for the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call this meeting of the Human Services Committee to order. And we had a loose package of our minutes. Look for a motion to approve those.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any changes? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We got minutes. All right. HS1 is a resolution to transfer funds from insurance recovery to the Department of Social Services Automotive Supplies and Repair account in the amount of $2,850.16. Look for a motion. Second? Any questions or discussion on that? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? HS2 is a budget modification for to purchase an external speaker system at the DSS building. I'll look for a motion to discuss. Any second?
Second.
So these are replacement speakers, actually replacing what was there before. Anybody have any questions about that? So obviously you gotta call people who are hanging out in the parking lot to come on in for their appointments. So local share is $754. If there's no further questions or discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? HS3 is a resolution authorizing the creation of one principal caseworker aide, one senior caseworker aide, and 5 caseworker aide positions in the Department of Social Services. I look for a motion to discuss. Take a look.
Second.
Yeah, first and a second. I'm going to just read this summary first, and then we'll talk about this. The Volunteer Transportation Center, and Marty, you correct me if I'm looking to blow anything up here. Volunteer Transportation Center, VTC, is ending their contract with Oswego County at the end of 2023. However, they wish to suspend services by September 1, 2023. Most families that Oswego County DSS works with are at or below poverty level and do not have access to safe and reliable transportation. Rural families do not have access to public transportation to Fulton, Oswego, or Syracuse, where most services or family visitation sites are available. The lack of transportation is a significant barrier for families in need of services to allow them to function independently and to prevent the foster care placement of their children, or to reunite families as soon as possible. Since 2023, both Oswego County Family Court judges are ordering double the amount of visitation time for families who have experienced separation. These are parents whose children have been removed from their care and are placed with a relative, kin, or in a foster home. Children are transported from school or where they are placed, as well as parents from the dwelling. Some families require several transporters for one visit. Visits were ordered once a week for 1 hour, but are now 2 times per week for 2 hours per visit. Most visits are required to be supervised by department personnel or a visitation center. The department is violating court orders if the visitation orders are not met and could face contempt charges. In addition to transporting and supervising court-ordered visitation, the department is required to assist families with any needs they may have for services. The department is responsible for arranging and ensuring transportation to substance abuse treatment, mental health treatment, medical appointments, and for health and dental and any other needs, including responding to crises. Between supervised visits and other court-ordered services, well over 1,000 trips are required and tens of thousands of miles are traveled each month. Referrals come directly from OCDSS. It's estimated that up to 1,500 trips per month will be needed to be scheduled, and which includes about 30,000 miles per month of travel. In order to meet the transportation needs, this is the staffing structure recommended. So we have a first and a second. Do we have questions for staff is here.
Just looking ahead to George. This is a court order, you're really not gonna say so on it, right?
All court
Is that right?
Well, why don't you speak to the structure that you're creating here? And this is actually almost a little mini new, addition to this apartment or department here, where right now we have 6.5 CSW drivers now, and we want to increase that basically to 11. And then the other two folks are going to, why don't you go ahead and talk
Right,
about what
so-
their principal activities will be.
This will give us 11 full-time caseworker aides and 1 part-time caseworker aide that will all be transporting kids. The senior caseworker aide and the principal caseworker aide are going to be responsible for supervising and coordinating all the activities that are required, making sure that we're meeting all the standards that are prescribed by court, as well as dispatching all of the trips that need to happen. So what has kind of caused a lot of fallout for us has been that we've been coordinating rides through ETC based on where people are and trying to make the most sense out of who's closest to who needs transporting and that kind of thing, trying to make it the cheapest and most cost-effective way of doing things. However, that means you have multiple people showing up to schools to pick up the same child. You have people showing up at foster care that the parents may never have seen before, the foster parents may never have seen before. But most importantly, the children don't always know everyone who is appearing to take them, wherever it is that they need to take them. So under this model, we want to be able to provide all of the transportation for the children for their visitations and kind of assign those caseworker aides a caseload so that they will be providing all the transportation needs for each family without having that bounced around to different caseworker aides, unless it's absolutely necessary in an emergency. But that's going to provide much better service for the children as well as all the other institutions that work with that child. Because we're going to be doing the dispatch right out of DSS, we're going to have immediate access to change information, access to the caseworkers, so it'll all be up to the minute. If somebody's supposed to do a visitation at one park and it needs to change to another, we can make that happen immediately. Whereas for the referral process, that's really difficult to do, and you don't have the people right there on site. This is Sarah Finley, for anyone who might not know her. She is the Director of Services. She'll be overseeing this new.
So the two supervisory positions, the principal and the senior caseworker aide, would both have responsibilities that wouldn't necessarily include the transporting. So the principal, we're looking at being primarily responsible for the dispatch. The senior would serve in place of the principal should they not be there. The senior would also be providing training, fleet management. We do have 9 vehicles right now that they have access to for transportation. And they will handle a lot of the day-to-day issues that come up, like cancellations and whatnot.
So, are they using their own vehicles?
They're using county vehicles at this point. We have 9 county vehicles assigned to the Child and Family Services Unit. So probably within the 2024 budget, we're going to need to lease a couple more vehicles.
So how many of the 9 are leased?
I think 5. I think we just work from public health.
Yeah.
Okay.
With the 4 from health, with the 4 from health?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So 4 from health and then 5 are leased.
And what I'm saying is the 4 that came from health,
Yes.
and they leased vehicles also?
No,
Okay, yeah.
yes.
Okay, so we're gonna continue to move in direction of leasing?
I gotta look at that because leasing prices have been going up. We may be better off buying vehicles right now. It's something worth looking at.
Well, in the meantime, they have a variety of vehicles between the 9 that they have, and they only have 6.5 drivers. This will allow us to get more drivers. At some point, we'll probably need more vehicles, but in the short term, we don't.
Yeah, I mean, if you're talking about 11 people driving, 9, sure too. Okay.
You have a comment?
Well, questions once the legislature's done.
Do you think you'll be able to fill the, up to 11 drivers you're gonna have?
Yes.
You got people going up to that, or?
Yeah, we have been able to fill all of the existing ones relatively easily, yes.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Is that still the okay?
Phil, you have a comment?
Yeah, a couple. VTC's contract expires at the end of the year, but they're gonna stop in September 1.
Yes.
So we are not gonna be paying them October, November, December. We have that. And prior to VTC, wasn't it the caseworker aides who were doing these transports?
Yes. And we had a senior caseworker that was doing all the scheduling and dispatching. But
Okay.
we didn't have as many caseworkers then.
Yeah, you had 8. One of them was Spanish speaking. We've got 7 now.
One
You don't have
and a half
enough
of those
vehicles.
7 are in adult services.
You don't have enough vehicles, so there's no adjustment here for paying mileage. Do you need to do a budget mod and increase your mileage line for these positions?
I'll have to check with Lori on that to see where we are.
It would have to happen right away anyways, probably.
Right.
So the reason you need these positions basically is, since you're doing this before BTC, with the same number of caseworker aides, it is the court's doubling of the visitations that is the reason for doubling the number of caseworker aides who drive. Is that fair?
Pay attention. Yeah.
Right, instead of 1 visit a week, it's gonna be 2. Instead of 1 hour a week, it's gonna be 2 hours.
2 hours.
2 hours twice a week.
So the additional, there will be additional costs with this, that is what I'm hearing, because you're gonna need more vehicles and possibly budget more mileage.
You're gonna increase your staff too.
Right, well, this is showing us a savings off the VTC contract of $3,200, but really it's gonna be more expensive.
I'm
Well,
not sure how much more mileage, because the caseworkers are currently doing those visits, and they're doing that transportation already and claiming mileage, so I'm not sure.
right, so for some further perspective, VTC contract was $249,741 to do this. So we're taking it back over on the budgeted amount, without any extra vehicles or mileage, is 241,000. So that's a difference of $8,700 something dollars, 3,200 local share. So there is some room for some extra mileage in there, but I mean, we're not gonna have any choice. We have to do this, or, we're gonna be put in contempt. The other problem, it sounds like what was happening with VTC is they're having problems getting volunteer drivers, and then, when they're going to pick up a kid at school, they've got basically random people showing up, and some of these visits were missed, or some of the drivers were actually turned away from the school, because you have to be on a list to go and pick up a kid, or kids refuse to get in a car with somebody they thought looked sketchy or whatever. This is going to be able to provide some consistency with the drivers, showing up to pick these kids up. Go ahead.
Has the court given a reason why they have all of a sudden decided to double the number of visitations?
I think it's best practice. One visit, 1 hour a week is not enough for families to reunify. Honestly, they should be getting more than 2 visits, 2 hours a week. They should probably be getting double that.
I was just wondering, is it unique to our county, or do other counties do 2, 3, 4 visits a week?
Typically, one time per week for 1 hour is very low. That's a very low amount of visitation time. So it was reduced. I can't remember when we reduced it, maybe COVID, but then it was at least 2 hours maybe prior to COVID. But I can't remember exactly what it was. Visitation was, but it's low, and I think it's low compared to other counties.
And this is primarily for moving children, not the adults. All right, go ahead.
You're probably needing more vehicles. What about the equipment, like radio? How do you communicate with these drivers? You're gonna have a regular dispatch, sounds like. Are you gonna be able to communicate with, the driver driving number 1 car, 2 car, and say you gotta bring that child back? What kind of communications?
We're using cell phones. And,
Cell phone?
linked up with the vehicle so that they can communicate.
An email.
We use their Outlook, their calendars, their scheduling changes.
Okay, any further questions?
Maybe they're planning more money, spending more money to do this. Additional cars.
Well, it's not gonna cost us any more money to do it now.
No, I'm saying, you put the drivers for 2022 vehicles, huh? For 2024, they're gonna have it, you gotta finish up this year. Oh, okay.
I don't think we're foreseeing it to be further than budget neutral this year. Any other questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Thank you. That was important. HS4 is a resolution awarding a professional services contract, RFP 23-DSS-001 for door-to-door transportation services. We don't have a informational memo in the packet for this, but this is, whereas the previous one was primarily for transporting children in foster care, my understanding is that this one is for any families that are involved with parents, or parents, and any that are clients, parents, children, and court-ordered services. So I'll look for a motion to discuss.
I'll move.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
So family time and some supervised visits. Can you elaborate a little bit on this? It's a big contract over 3 years, $3.256 million.
That's for the entire 3 years. So the year 1 had a price tag of just over $1 million. Sorry, 963. This is for taking parents to all of their mental health treatment, SUD treatment, court appointments, any of those ordered services that they're required to do because of their involvement with child welfare cases with us.
So any service we recommend to family court have ordered, we're responsible for arranging and ensuring transportation. So any family that has to go to mental health services, drug treatment, medical appointments, there are medical transports available, but they have to be arranged ahead of time, and sometimes we want to ensure that they're being transported. So we have to be able to document our billing efforts that we're showing up, that we're available, and that we've attempted to take them. So that's something that we're required to do, and that's a lot of what BTC dispatch is doing, and what we would be asking for Catholic Charities to do in this contract.
And this is budget neutral this year.
Catholic Charities is also going to be coordinating the volunteers for the rest of Rides to Recovery, which is a grant that we got to take people that were in SUD recovery to treat them and to other appointments that were going to support the treatment.
When would this begin?
This would begin probably 9/1. So,
I'm sorry?
9/1.
Oh, so September 1st, so really,
And that's just coordinating the rides through our dispatch, same dispatcher,
They have to dispatch people.
at Catholic Charities.
this is reimbursed at 62%.
Yes.
And uses the budget line, Phil, I guess, is the preventive services contract dollars.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
All right. Does this represent an increase in costs for the remainder of the year that you're gonna need a budget on?
I don't know that for sure.
So we can't-
I don't believe so.
I don't
Right.
think so with Catholic Charities.
Because there was enough left in the PPM line from other contracts that are either underspending and the remainder of BTC.
Okay.
That was there.
All right.
It wouldn't affect this year, but next year.
I'm sorry.
It wouldn't affect this year's budget, but we get to include next year's budget.
Yes.
Okay, any other questions for Sarah or Marty? All those in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. HS5 is a resolution authorizing amending contract RFP 19HD-006 Senior Transportation Services. This is the most amended contract in history of the world, right?
It is, and I was looking through the packet, and I noticed that my informational memo was not attached, nor is the actual changes that we're looking to make were not, at least in the packet that I have. I
Okay,
don't know if they're in yours or not.
I got them.
Yeah.
You sent them to me, but apparently didn't make it to the packet, so we can
Sure.
maybe try to forward them to Raven and she can put it in the main packet.
I will, I know. Yes, it was, the contract was asked for afterwards, because it wasn't included in the original documents I had sent, so then I sent them as a separate email.
Okay, so here's my brief based on the info memo. Did I already get a first and second to discuss this? Okay, let's look for first and second for this.
Sorry.
I got first and second, okay. So this is due to the closure of the Hannibal Congregate Dining Center. So transportation is no longer needed to the Hannibal Congregate site. But OFA and OCO Transportation jointly request the contract to be amended to expand the Fulton Congregate Dining Center transportation to cover the Hannibal area. The expansion will allow Hannibal participants to access congregate dining and socialization services that were available previously in Hannibal. There's no additional cost to the contract. The amount allocated for transportation for the Hannibal location will be reallocated to the Fulton site, making the amendment budget neutral, at least in this year. Doesn't increase the contract from what it was.
Correct, it doesn't, and it won't increase it next year unless they come forward with a full transportation.
Do you have any interest on the handful of people that were attending in Hannibal, or have they been contacted yet, or you're waiting to see if we approve this?
I'm looking to see, but the people who were picking up their meals and going, they did not have interest in going to the Hannibal site. We're hoping that maybe we can get some interest going to the Fulton site. It's open 4 days a week, and there's a different
More
site
people.
manager, more people,
More of
different
a,
activities.
more of an adult activity, more of an adventure. Heading all the way down to the big city of Fulton. Okay, questions for Sarah on this? All those in favor? Any opposed? All right. Takes care of our resolutions. Marty, do you have a social services update for us today?
We, as far as our hiring goes, we're still managing to hire some people. However, we did lose a couple of caseworkers last month, so we're back at 17 caseworkers that are vacant at this point. Our social welfare examiners are also, they're 15% vacant, so we have that are vacant. So those are our two biggest pressure points at this point. We're also having a real struggle trying to hire any account clerks or typists, because the people who take those exams generally are taking them to school districts that are paid quite a bit more, and they don't stick around with us. So we're going with that a lot of times. We are gearing up to get started with the START team, taking on its implementation. We've been able to work with our contract partner, Farnham, to hire all of 3 out of 4 family mentors for our first START team. So family mentors are people that have experience with first-hand experience with child welfare, either in their own lives or an immediate family member that has had services there, and also is in recovery for at least 3 years.
Yes.
So we were able to get 3 really, really good candidates that have been fully vetted and will start next week. And then they will be coming to our offices 2 weeks from now after they do their initial training with Farnham and start working side by side with our caseworkers. We have Child Opinion Futures coming out to do some training with us together, to do some team building training as DIAB, as well as substance use training as it applies to START. That's next week as well. So we're getting really excited. We should be able to start taking families on as early as October.
Was that was some sort of a pilot? Is that?
That is an evidence-based model that we were able to have approved here last year. And we were able to dedicate some staff specifically for families that have new CPS reports with children in the household that are age 5 and under. And the whole goal of the program is to try to inject services into their homes so that we can keep children safely at home for as long as possible. And if it turns out we can't, to reunite families much more quickly than what is all within guidelines, of course, because if they're removed, they need to be showing sobriety for 6 months before they can be reunited. But we're trying really hard to keep the kids from having to be different in the first place.
That sounds good. That might help with transportations.
Well, it's supported in the Federal Family First Prevention Services Clearinghouse. And when it becomes well supported, the state has indicated that they will include it in their FIPSA plan, which means that we would be able to, instead of the 3268, we can draw down 50, and then 62 up to 50. So it would be a huge deal. And we're the first county to go to implement it.
So we did a presentation, Sarah and her team came, did a presentation, along with the team leader from Farm at the MIPWA conference a couple of weeks ago. And that was very well received, and we had state staff in the room so that they can be continually flooded with information about what it is we're doing with that program so that we can hopefully get that improved reimbursement for all the activities we do for those families.
Great. Is that it? Anything else? Okay, thank you. Any questions for Marty or Sarah? All right, Office of Aging.
Sorry, every time you say Marty and Sarah, I'm like, what?
No, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I'm used to being the only Sarah.
I refer to her also as Sarah Alpha.
No, that's okay. I passed out our updates. They'll just go over it with you. Our senior market coupons, we started distributing them on July 5th at our last meeting on that date. They were all distributed by July 18th. So those 800 coupon booklets worth $20,000 are in the hands of our seniors, and hopefully spending them at Oswego County farmers markets, buying fresh fruits and vegetables from our farmers. Our senior picnic is our next.
Can I stop you for a second? I talked to Heather right before the meeting, and she said she just heard a report that there were 24 riders to the one of the markets last week, or was it just yesterday on the rainy day, two days ago?
Sorry.
On Saturday.
Yeah. And it's nice because they have signage to say this is where you get on the bus, this is where you wait for the bus. Last year they didn't have that, so it's kind of hard to know where you're supposed to wait for the bus. And I've seen them around at some of the senior buildings as well, saying wait here for the farmer market bus. So that's a great number from last year's numbers for sure at
Right.
the start of it.
Okay, great, thank you. Sorry to interrupt.
No, that's good news. Our senior picnic is scheduled for August 16th. I shared with you the flyer last month. We still would love for you if you'd like to stop by. It's at the Mexico VFW. Lots of fun games and entertainment scheduled. We confirmed that we received a $1,000 grant from the Shinneman Foundation to help provide transportation to the senior picnic. That's not enough to cover all the transportation. We had requested $2,500. We got $1,000. We've gotten $900 in donations from the community. Transportation for the buses is going to be just a little bit more over $2,700. So the remaining money will come out of our operating account. Curb to curb for seniors transportation is a little lower, underspent, and we're anticipating it to be underspent for the remainder of the year. So we're going to take that $860 that we're short from our curb to curb money to cover the additional costs. So we'll have 4 buses that'll be out in the community picking up our seniors, bringing them to picnic, and then bringing them back as well.
What time is that?
The picnic starts, we start registration at 10:30. It goes from 10:30 to 1:30. The actual bingo starts at 11 o'clock. That's the first big event is bingo. We'll have musical entertainment during registration, then bingo, presentation. We're going to be presenting senior of the year nominees, having the meal, and then Sam Damacola will be our afternoon entertainment, live entertainment.
I'll be in Maine.
Well,
I don't think I'm coming back.
no, okay.
Sarah, do
Yes.
these go to the high rise over here in downtown?
The notifications, yep.
Yeah.
Went out to all the senior buildings as well as the libraries and the town clerk, so they have it. And we're in everywhere. We can get it out, but yeah, they were shared with the senior buildings. Flyers also went out with in our home delivered meal for the LEQ units because we had not got them all. We had received 10 of them, 5 more waiting to deploy to us. We had only gotten 3 out in the community. So we sent notification out to all, with all the home delivered meals. We received 40 requests for them, so we're following up with the people to see if they're appropriate. And we'll be getting all of our LEQ units out hopefully within the next few weeks to help with that social interaction for our seniors who don't have anybody else in the home. We are starting back up with our in-person caregiver support groups, and as part of the packet, I put the 3 support groups in there. We have one in Oswego, Fulton, and Pulaski. At Catholic Charities in Fulton, Springside at Seneca Hill, here in Oswego, and in Pulaski at Selkirk Landing. So feel free to share that information. Myself and another my caregiver coordinator attended the statewide caregiver respite conference, and with the upcoming establishment of our senior center in the Bunner Street building, we're going to explore maybe having a respite program. The ones that were presented are volunteer operated. They do from 2 to 3 days a week, from 10 in the morning to 2 in the afternoon, so it's not multiple hours, or it is multiple hours, but not long days. And so I think that would be a great model to bring in. You can just drop in and don't have to have a lot that goes into it. Training for the volunteers certainly, but this will give their caregivers a little respite so they can go out to lunch maybe or do something that they want to do. As soon as we explore how it would all work, and if we could get funding from Lifespan for the training, I'll bring it back to Human Services Committee to update you on that. Again, nothing would happen until we actually had space in our building. And we're in the planning stages of having a caregiver luncheon in November. Where the caregiver coordinator, Elizabeth Weimer, is in the process of getting donations right now, so we don't have that built into our budget, so that we could cover the cost of up to 25 caregivers to have a luncheon and bring a speaker in for them. And our last item is that last month, speaking of OCO and amendments to contracts, I received the notification for the new Pulaski Dining Center, and in the amendment to the contract, I put open Monday, Wednesday, Friday, because those are the days that the Hannibal site were open. That site, they're looking at Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So there's no changes other than the days of the week that would be open. It's easier for them to have staffing for 3 days in a row for a part-time staff person as opposed to a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, because this would be a new staff person with them. As well as with our home delivered meals program, that would be the driver who does the home delivered meals, that would be the one bringing the meals to the site. They don't deliver in Pulaski on Fridays. They get a double meal on Thursday for their Friday meal. So we'll be looking to make a revision to that, but I don't know, does that have to go before the full floor? I was unable to get a hold of Rich before.
Could it just be initial?
It's not a major change in expense.
No change in expense, no change in the scope of work, just
No
different days.
additional days, it's the same 3 days, but just 3 different days.
I think that can be done by the motion that, you don't need to, that doesn't require, that's not an amendment that we have to fill.
Yeah, I just received the email on it today stating that we met with Selkirk Landing, we're moving forward, we're advertising for our site manager, and these are the days, and I'm like, oh.
Okay. So, just for safety's sake, then I will make a motion. Do we have, this is the same contract, right?
Not the one that you have, but it was last month, it was passed last month.
But the is it contract RFP 19 HD 006? It's the same, no, it's a different one.
No, that's transportation, this is meals.
Oh, right. We have to do it a bunch of these. All right, well, so we'll specify the exact contract, but
It can be done next month if you prefer, because the site itself won't be opening until September. If you prefer to have the actual contract number.
yeah, why don't you do that?
You would have to do it before your contract.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay, I'll do that for next year.
good. Okay. But it's not pressing.
No.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, Brian, you are up.
All right, so summer is moving quickly. Camp House just started. We have 2 weeks left of the regular camper season. We're on pace to have about 670 campers, which last year we had 636. So this would be the highest number since 2010. Our revenue targets this week, we think we're going to hit our goal for 2023. And so we'll have outstanding deposits for the last 2 weeks. Our USDA, our rentals, and our scholarship money still to come in. So we're sitting really well out there with that. Next month, I am going to visit this committee to discuss rental and camper fees for 2024 for both Camp House and Camp Zerby. Camp Zerby is also running very well. We're having 30 campers a week. It's been going outstanding out there. We're happy with the progress we're making. At Camp Zerby, I've been communicating with Guymo, who is the engineering firm who's designing the bathhouse. They've been doing some research for us. It does not look like the building is on the historic preservation. So without going too far into detail, that is a good thing when it comes to whether we want to possibly connect that house or not. They said we can get it on the list should we want to, but currently it is not. But what we will have to do is, because DASNY's involved, we will have to submit a consultation form to SHPO, and then they'll give us some feedback on that. But the woman who we spoke to had she had a draft of what Guymo was proposing, and she liked what she had seen on there, basically a hyphen, but it said bathhouse / lodge. So more to come with that. I expect to have actually just got an email, going to have a meeting with Guymo either tomorrow or Wednesday to talk about their proposal. Both the contract grants that we have for Hollis for the lodge and bluff are in their slow periods right now because with camp being open, there's really not a lot of work that we can do out there, but we expect once we conclude that, we'll start getting that moving again to get going. Harborfest was this past weekend. Roughly some numbers they have coming out right now. We served about 170 youth for the pre-parade workshop, about 500 kids in the parade, and then the 300 kids after visited our tents down there to do different activities. Our Arts and Parks program will be very busy in August. You can go to our webpage and you'll find all the events listed on there for scattered throughout the whole county. Between that and movies in the park, we will be busy offering different activities for our young people. We have a big event happening at Thunder Island as well coming up, and I think on Wednesday is when they're going to draw for the winners to get the free registration. It's humongous of the amount of people who applied for it, so it will be interesting. And also recently we monitored all our contract agencies that we serve in the summertime just to see where they're at. They're all performing up to par, doing well. Our funding packets went out on June 23rd, and their summaries were due back by the 14th of July, and our proposals are due September 1st. And the board will make decisions by September 27th on our applications that will run for 2024. As I probably said over the last couple of months, that yes, the vacancy bug hit me for the first time in many years. I had 3 vacancies. I have all 3 filled now. Jennifer Jones is taking the lead as the AmeriCorps coordinator. She's doing a fantastic job. And she recently, with myself, hired a program assistant who will be starting on August 21st to complete our restructure of the AmeriCorps program going forward. So that's really about it. Summer is always a busy time. We're also getting back into planning of the school year being just starting not too far away. So we're getting staff up and running to be back in the schools starting in September. So going well.
Okay, any questions for Brian? All right, thank you. All right, Veteran Services.
So, both of my VSOs took the county test, and they both stayed reachable. So they, as of tomorrow, they will become permanent and start their probationary period. So that was good.
That's very good.
I'm working with Rich to draft up a license agreement for the Clear Path for Veterans to give them the ability to use our office in Fulton as well as our office in Pulaski. I was just, as a matter of fact, I was just talking to him just here a few minutes ago, so he's drafting that up now. It'll probably be next month, but it'll go before the committee, so that way we can get the approval, so that they'll have somewhere that they can sit down with these veterans. Our relationship with them is working out really well. We've turned several veterans over to them who have needed work, or they need a place to live, or they need food. And at the same time, I'm receiving phone calls from them now where they're finding veterans who need to increase their compensation, or they need to file for compensation. And some of these veterans are, as we've talked about, are out in Cleveland, Legislature, and ClearPath will even bring them to us. I have an appointment tomorrow, as a matter of fact, where Helion is bringing it back from, I think it's in Cleveland, so that we can apply for his benefits. And that was my intended purpose of our relationship, was so that they can help us reach those veterans that are further out. Our food coupons, we too have gotten rid of them all. They're gone. Not as many. We only had 2,500, so we no longer have those. Veterans were extremely grateful for the coupons, so it is something that we will do next year as well. So, other than that, everything's running great.
All right, any questions? Go ahead.
Would it be possible that you could make up a list of benefits that veterans could have, like Vietnam veterans, what benefits? A lot of veterans don't know what they're entitled to. For instance, Vietnam veterans, if you had a heart problem, that's all covered. Most veterans from Vietnam didn't know that program even existed.
Yeah, and that's not an uncommon problem that we've been having. As veterans, unfortunately, we hear from their spouses after they pass.
Yeah.
Only to find out that they could have been receiving benefits. That information, it is on the VA website. It's also on our brochure, and when we table events, that's pretty much everything I have out is contact stuff. For Vietnam veterans, to Desert Storm, burn pits, Agent Orange, all of that. I could possibly look at putting all that into one a singular document or something, or even maybe do a news release, providing that information as well as a link to where they can get that information. Our brochures list some of the benefits that are available to veterans generally. I don't want to get too specific on the brochures because if anything changes, then we have to keep changing the brochure. But yeah, I can break it down by service. Whether you served in Vietnam or whether you're a Camp Lejeune. Yeah. I'll look into it. I'll see if I can't figure it out.
I think that'd be good. I'd like to be able to pass it out to the townships, to the town boards. They'd like to have you come out and put on a separate, like we did Sarah Sunday. Out in Elmhart, they have a nice big meeting room. Come out, and I'd invite you to surrounding towns to all come. And you ever talk to some of the veteran person, you'd be interested in something like that.
Oh, absolutely. I don't have a problem with that at all. Just give me a call, tell me when, and I'll be there. So.
Okay.
Great. All right, any other questions for Eric? All right, all those in favor of, I need a motion for the adjournment. Second, all those in favor? Aye. Approved. Thank you all.